Eric Flint, February 6, 1947, July 17, 2022, was a noted science fiction author who tended towards hard science fiction, often in collaboration with other authors such as David Weber. Notable aspects of his writing style include a number of trademark affections and concepts, including unusual tonal tags, structured in a general manner like the following: he said something something something. Emotional tone, something. Certain turns of phrase tend to show up across all of his work quite often, some particularly common ones being butter wouldn't melt in his, her mouth and, insert adjective here, as you please. A tendency to have fun with characters' emotional and physical relationships that's somewhat unusual for most science fiction authors. At least one romance per book. Some of his co-writers have mentioned Flint. This example contains a YMMV entry. It should be moved to the YMMV tab. Shipping the characters the co-writer developed. He has even unabashedly shipped historical domain characters that he thinks should have gotten together. Rather than any long-term dating or engagement, many of his romances tend to be based on the rather old-fashioned notion of the protagonists first quickly making commitments, and then working out the details as they go along, such as happily arranged marriage and fourth date marriage. Heavy usage of arc words, often in the form of a badass boast, or an epithet, such as deadly with a blade is Belize Arias, or Hidalgo true and pure. A notable bantering style of dialogue between most of the major cast, especially in a cheerfully grim attitude towards fighting in wars. A distinct tendency towards being able to make workable, interesting and entertaining omnicompetent and plot-bending characters. Examples: see Flavius Belize Arias, Michael Stearns and Victor Cachat. Where the setting allows, Scots-Irish or West Virginia-based characters portrayed favorably. If not the creator of the A.C.T. Shards time travel idea, also known as I Sought Events, after the island in the Sea of Time, then the writer of the best example. A.C.T. being an anagram of as it is, and the idea is simple: a location is picked up whole and dropped in another time, with only the resources they would have on hand, as it is, to survive. Prior to becoming an author, Flint worked as a labor organizer and political activist, earning something of a reputation as a leftist radical. Up to the day he died, he was a member of the Socialist Workers' Party, one of the largest far-left parties in the United States, relatively speaking. To a casual reader this is generally not apparent. Most notable is that his books generally have heroes with strong blue-collar values, but a reader schooled in Marxist theory or socialist history can pick up plenty of references. This usually confused people who considered Ben, where he held several important editorial positions, to be a conservative publishing house. Notable works include Mother of Demons, his first published novel. Human ship crash lands on an alien world and we get to see how the two societies interact. 1632, the most successful and well-known of the A.C.T. Shards concept. In 2000 AD, a West Virginia coal mining town is dropped into Germany, in the year 1632. In the middle of one of the worst wars of the past millennium. Some hilarity ensues, along with a whacking great dose of character development for pretty much everyone: romance, heroics, and death. Oh, and the American Revolution, a century or so ahead of schedule. Wages of Sin subseries in the larger David Weber's Honor Harrington, where one of his favorite characters, Super Spy Victor Cachat, comes into play. Trail of Glory, an alternate history in which after the War of 1812 the Cherokee, in collaboration with freed blacks and other Native American tribes, head west decades early and found a small nation in Arkansas. Joe's World, a class warfare satirical fantasy series. The Belize Arias series, written by Flint from an outline by David Drake, in which two rival intelligences from the unimaginably distant future attempt to influence human history in 6th century Rome and India. Rats, Bats and Vats series, written with Dave Freer. The Crimp Pyramid series, also with Dave Freer. The Boundary series, written with Ricky Spoor. The J.O. Empire series, written with K.D. Wentworth. The Heirs of Alexandria series, written with Dave Freer and Mercedes Lackey. The Cars series, sequels to The Witches of Cars by James H. Schmitz.